So if you watch my videos, you know that I'm a huge fan of this Benchmark Foolproof. And you also know that I consider this bottle one of my top best bang for the buck budget bourbon recommendations. And you also know that I've enjoyed blinding this bottle against other bottles of similar proof, but that are significantly more expensive than this. And I do these blinds not necessarily expecting this bottle to win. In most cases, it doesn't. But what I like to see is just how much better the more expensive bottle is. Given that this is $23 in New Jersey approximately, and the bottles that I'm usually blinding it against are significantly more expensive. And what I have found is that while in most cases it doesn't win, in a lot of cases it really hung in there, some closer than others. And while the other one may be better, for $23, this really just shows just how much of a good value this is. So we're going to do another one. Now, of course, that I purchased my first bottle of Booker's, why not? This Booker's, again, it's the third Booker's installment. It's Jerry's Batch. It's 124.7 proof. Third installment of 2025, that is. 124.7 proof. This is 125 proof. It's virtually the same proof. Both from legacy distilleries, huge distilleries. This is from Buffalo Trace, and this is from Jim Beam. So there you have that. As far as age, I mean, the Booker's is definitely older. 7 years, 4 months, 21 days. We don't know exactly what it is, but I usually consider this to be around 4 years old, give or take. And as far as mash bill, we know that this is the Jim Beam mash bill of 77 corn, 13 rye, 10 malted barley. Of course, being Buffalo Trace, we don't know the mash bill. We just know this is part of mash bill number 1 from Buffalo Trace, their low rye mash bill. So figure it's 10% or lower. So this isn't a tremendously high rye percentage at 13%, but 13 would probably almost be considered their mash bill too. So figure this is a few points lower in rye. Other than that, it's really the fact that you got this very similar proof. $23 in New Jersey right here. And this was a bargain at $89. Typically, it is north of $100. Let's blind these two and just see how much different they are. Okay, so we've got these poured up, mixed up, have no idea which is which. Going to look straight ahead at the camera. And this ought to be interesting. As far as the color, I really didn't specifically see anything before I blinded them that looked so different in color. So that's kind of interesting on its own, considering that I figure the age roughly is about 3 years difference. I mean, I know what this is. The Booker's is, again, 7 years, 4 months, 21 days. I'm estimating the Benchmark, which is Buffalo Trace's budget line, age, I'm guessing around 4 years old, give or take. So let's see what we can pick up. We're going to do this straight up. Let's give each a nose. Nose isn't telling me much. Then again, I do have a slight cold, so let's go right. My nose isn't working as great. The palate seems to be fine, so let's go right to the palate. Cheers. Cheers. Let's get some water. Okay, so here's what happened. We actually, before getting water, I did a few back and forth tastes off camera, wanted to save camera time. And I got to be honest with you, when you do this level of proof without water, it's really hard to pick out. It may still be hard to pick out, but I got to tell you something. The heat of both just start all blending in, and without the water, I mean, it's really hard to tell much of a difference. So we're gonna. What we did was, because I kind of drank both and they were near gone, so filled them up, and I mixed everything up. Have no idea which is which, and we have fresh glasses, and we're going to start again. It's amazing. So already I can tell you that this isn't going to be a blowout as a blind, but it makes it really hard to do without water. So again, let's start over again. I'll try again the nose. That's just, well, actually, you know what? Okay, this I'm getting more ethanol on my nose with a cold. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. Okay. Now let's try this one. Cheers. Okay. Now I'm going to pause for a moment. All right, I did a couple back and forth. I'm going to do it again. I got to be completely honest with you. Now, it could be because I have a cold, but these two are very hard for me right now to pick apart. So I'll blame a little bit of this on the fact that maybe I have a cold. Well, I do have a cold, but maybe it's because of that. But I will definitely tell you that there is a whatever percentage of this is the fact that I'm telling you when you blind this against bottles more expensive or not, it's a lot closer than you think. Now, when I did this against Stag, I'm telling you the Stag was clearly better. They call this the baby Stag or the Stag Junior Junior. I was able to say that was better, but this hung in there. I'm having trouble in this case. I got to be honest with you. So let's do this one more time. Fresh glass of water. I already said that I thought there was more ethanol on this one. Okay, so that would lead me to think this is the benchmark foolproof naturally on that one. But let's see. Cheers. All right, so let's go with that. I'm going to say that this is the benchmark foolproof. This is the Booker's. But before I do that, I just kind of want to see the way the glass looks. They both have legs on the glass. One final taste. All right, well, let's say this is the benchmark foolproof. This is the Booker's. I really can't say which I like better at this point because it's a dead heat to me. So let's say if I'm at least right about that. Benchmark foolproof, Booker's. And this is actually amazing. So I was able to guess the only thing that tipped it off was there was more ethanol on this, which I would expect. It's younger, it's not made as well. But I am telling you, I'll try this again when I don't have a cold. But even with that, if something was that much of a difference, I think I'd be able to tell the difference. So let's just basically say this. Let's put it out there. I had this when I reviewed this last night. This is a really, really, really good bottle. The only thing I said about this was that I felt that the profile was very similar to the Knob Creek, specifically the Knob Creek Single Barrel Select, the store picks. Those are 120. This is 124.7 proof. Very similar, and I simply said, for me, I can get one of those for $60 versus this was $89. Most of these are like 100, 110 and up. So that was my only talk about this, but it's a good bottle. But the thing is that am I going to go look for bottles like this and bottles that are hot bottles that are really very popular and stuff? Yeah, I will, depending on the price. I did get this because it was $89 and it wasn't 110. But the fact is that you have a bottle, at least in New Jersey, like this, all the time. Not saying it's as good as this, not saying, although to me right now this is a dead heat, but not as good as a lot of other bottles. But is the difference really necessarily worth the price difference? Even if this was better, and I can tell you another day, I'll tell you right now that it's that close with a cold. Even if I decide this is a little bit better without a cold, there is no way that this bottle is, whatever it is, $70 better than this or anything like this. It's $23, $89. It's normally more than that. There's no difference. There's no way this bottle is, going to be that much better. And, you might disagree. I just think the point of this is that there are a lot of bottles out there on the shelf all the time at good prices that you should not overlook. And this is definitely one of them, and there are others. Wow, this is great. Am I going to want to spend this kind of money for this or other bottles all the time? This being a bargain, 110? No. You got stuff like this and other stuff that's available on the shelf all the time that is at least comparable or close. That's really the only point of this video. Cheers.